everyone. I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Just again, FYI, if you've been in our sessions so far, you know that we are recording these sessions. They're not to put you on blast or anything like that. It's just so we have this information readily available for anybody who needs it afterwards. Couple things. Number one, my name is Sarah Rubright. I'm one of the senior EOF counselors here at Rutgers-Camden. Another thing is that it is thundering where I am right now, and my dog is terrified of thunder. So you might hear her crying. She is under my desk currently. But so as Miss Ferguson, if you saw the chat that Miss Ferguson put in the chat, it is to feel free to drop any questions that you may have in the chat, right? So as I'm going through this presentation, I am going to share my screen a bit. We will engage a little bit and hopefully you all participate and whatnot. But if you have questions and you're not comfortable unmuting yourself just yet, you're more than welcome to drop that in the chat. All right, can I get some virtual thumbs up since I don't see any of your faces if we are ready to go and everybody feels good, you're ready to move forward? Awesome, thank you for being here, about half of you. Oh, we're moving on now. All right, so I am going to go ahead and share my screen. There is going to be a couple of times, like I said, where I'm going to ask for your engagement. So please, please, please just humor me and indulge me. It'll make this a lot more fun. All right. So let's see. Here we go. And so I'm going to click this little sharing button. Presentation button, I should say. Perfect. All right, can I get some more thumbs up? Just testing to see if you're still here and also if you can see my screen. All right, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so again, my name is Sarah Rubright. I'm one of the EOF counselors here. I'm seeing a lot of familiar names. I'm very excited to see you back. Hopefully very soon I will see your faces. I wanted to talk with you all today about transitioning from a high school to college. So this is a big deal, right? Because a lot of you probably aren't even actual high school graduates yet. Some of you are just as of like this week, high school graduates. Some of you might not be until next week or the following, right? So you're still in this like odd space where you're about to be embarking on this college career. We're already asking you to do all of these things, right? To turn in these documents, to talk to us, let us know, attend orientation, all this stuff, but you're still in this space where you're a high school student. And so what we're going to be talking about today is minding the gap, which I'll get to that in a second, but minding this gap between high school and college and how to prepare properly for the next step. So we're going to be talking about some key aspects of the transition. We're really going to highlight the differences between high school and college because a lot of you may already kind of know what those differences are, but some of you maybe don't, right? A lot of you, if not all of you, are first generation college students, meaning that you might be the first in your whole entire family to go to college. Maybe your older sibling went to school, but still hasn't really like given you the cheat codes just yet. So you're still really figuring out a lot of things yourself. So we're going to go over those differences. We're going to talk about some fears, identify some questions, answer some questions you may have. And then lastly, what is a presentation without some next steps? We're going to talk about some small steps that you can take now to develop a college mindset. And so this is what I mean when I say mind the gap. So if any of you have ever traveled, I think some places in the US might say this, but this is a real European thing that they say at train stations or subway stations, that you should mind the gap. And so if you see you are here on the platform, right, getting ready to board the train, here is the gap, that little space that's between where you are and then where you want to go, right? So where you want to go is having this robust, successful, amazing, fantastic college career. But right now we're right here. We're getting ready to leap off of this platform, go over this very wide, 2-3 inches and take that leap to the next phase. But a lot of you might be looking at this tiny little gap, right, as a massive Grand Canyon sized transition. That is okay. A lot of you also might be looking at this being like, what gap? I don't even see a gap. I'm good. I'm going to be great. I was fantastic in high school. I know exactly what I'm doing. That's all right. There's going to be a spectrum of how you're feeling, and that we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But however you're feeling, there is a gap and we need to acknowledge it, right? Because if you don't, then you might trip, fall, get stuck in the gap. We don't want that, right? They say mind the gap because they want you to be mindful of that gap. And that's what we want you to do. Okay, so, because I don't like listening to myself talk, so if anything, I'll at least read what you're saying. I want you to drop in the chat how you are feeling about starting college and also really the Summer Institute, right? Because that is your first step and first experience in college. So hopefully you've gone to other sessions that we've had so far. You have a better idea of what the Summer Institute is going to look like, what we're going to ask of you. And so how are you feeling? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it in between? Are you nervous, anxious, excited? Are you happy to meet new people? Like, tell me where you're at, because I just want to gauge where everybody is while we go forward into this conversation. If you feel like unmuting yourself too, I would love that. Love it. All right, so we have a couple answers. So we're feeling good, excited and nervous. Absolutely. Feeling great. Good. This is like a pretty excited group. My last group earlier in the week was more nervous, I would say, than excited. So it hasn't settled in yet. Absolutely. Just like I mentioned before, a lot of you are probably not really feeling like this is real just yet because you're still either in high school or it just happened and that hasn't sunk in yet. So of course this next step isn't going to sink in. A little nervous. Don't even feel like I'm graduating yet. Yeah, sometimes that takes a moment, right? And that's okay. And so we'll talk about this in a little bit, but how do you then, if you're kind of feeling that same way, how do you acknowledge, especially in this virtual space, that you are graduating and then you are moving on to the next thing, right? So has anybody, if anyone's ever felt like they came off of summer break, right? And then you went into your school year and you were like, oh, I'm not even ready yet. I'm still on summer break. That's what we don't want. We want you to make that transition. And we'll talk about a few things that you can do to sort of shift that mindset and get ready and feel prepared when you're going into this. All right. So we're facing the gap, right? So a couple things. So again, the adjustment from high school to college is difficult for some people. When I mean difficult, I mean like it's not coming easily to you. You might start questioning things, right? You might be like, I don't even know if this is the right thing that I should be doing. Maybe you're starting to kind of panic a little bit about this decision for the Summer Institute, right? That is normal. Those nerves are normal. The little bit of anxiety is normal, right? Talk to us, talk to some people around you. I know some people made group chats already, or we're looking to make group chats already in this group. But if you're not in a group chat just yet, that's fine. Talk to your peer coaches, which you should all have contact info for already. Talk to Ms. Ferguson, myself, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Waters, Mr. Quiles. Like there's so many people that you already know. Talk to us, because if you bottle that up, that's going to make this feel a lot bigger of a gap than it actually is, right? Another thing is that, when you're facing this gap, you have to keep in mind that this is something that's completely different for you, and it's going to allow you the opportunity to kind of feel like what it's like to be an adult, right? I have adult in quotation marks because I think all of you are adults already. You already have responsibilities and have lived lives and all of that, right? But when I say adult, I mean like post-college adult. And so college is going to be something that prepares you, but it's going to stretch you. It's going to challenge you. And that's because life is challenging and life is going to stretch you and force you to grow and change and evolve, right? So it's going to be a sort of like incubus, right? If anyone's ever done like a school project with hatching a chicken or something, I don't even know if people do that anymore, but it's going to be like an incubus where there's still a lot happening inside the bubble of college, but it's just getting you ready for what's outside of college, right? So you're just a lot more prepared. That's very similar to what Summer Institute is like as well. It's this little bubble before college, but it's still really going to prepare you for that next step. Again, college really allows you to take ownership of your responsibilities, your time. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking that you're going to be a lot more independent in college, which is very true. As you know, we've been reaching out to you all, not your families, but to you all about this experience, right? And then another thing to keep in mind as we're at this like transitional stage keep in mind that for probably the next year, you're going to start hearing phrases like, this isn't high school, right? And you're going to get annoyed because you're like, I know it's not high school. But you're going to hear that because people are going to constantly try and break you out of that high school habit and get you into this full college mindset. And then lastly, the methods that you use to navigate your high school experience, keep in mind that they're probably not going to work at the college level. That is okay. It is okay. We're not going to just like throw you to the wolves. We're going to help equip you so that you are comfortable and confident in your abilities and your skill sets and your techniques of studying and all of that in college. Because college just requires a couple of different things, right? Like you might have been able to kind of like coast through high school, it was super easy, everything came naturally. That might not be the case in college, but that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be there. So just keeping it in mind, that phrase of like, what got you here won't get you there, right? So going back to this gap, you're here, that's fantastic. You had a whole road behind you that you trekked to get to this platform, but what's gotten you to this platform, you haven't crossed that gap yet. And we're still now learning to take that step and cross that gap. Right? So it's just two different experiences. Let's see something in the chat. So I want to just acknowledge that really quick. Oh, we have some good gems in the chat. I love that. As we grow, we're maturing. We have to understand that we're growing up as young adults and opening a new chapter in our book. Absolutely. Yes, snaps for that. And Lewis, you said you're nervous, but you think it's nice to have someone guide us through like you guys. Yes, we're great. We're the best office on campus. It's phenomenal. There's none other like us. It's just a fact. Like, that's it. It's over. All right. So if you know, you know, I would like to stop talking. So if you all could go to this poll everywhere, I'll put it in the chat as well, but I just want to get some feedback again, because I like to know my audience and see how you all are feeling, kind of gauge where you're at when you're thinking about the differences between high school and college. You can also text Sarah R 8637. Nope, I spelled it wrong in the chat. So ignore that, please. I'll put this on the screen though, because this is the correct thing. So if you can see right up at the top, it says pollev.com/Sarah R 386, or you can text Sarah R 386-23607. So the question is, what are some of the biggest differences between high school and college? We'll go through this together, but I want to hear from you all. Like, what do you feel like some of the biggest differences are going to be? Schedule. Yes, we will absolutely touch on that. The schedule is going to be very different. So in high school, it's like one condensed schedule, right? So you have, I don't know, homeroom, I can't even remember, homeroom, and then you end the day, your last class is like, what, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and that all that time in between, you're at school, right? It's very different. Maybe not now because you're virtual, but it's very different. Whereas college, you're going to be having schedules that are maybe a little all over the place. You might have an 8 a.m. class. You might have one that starts at 6 p.m., right? Then maybe Monday, and then the next class is Wednesday, and you have Tuesdays off, right? It could be very different. Level of independence, absolutely. As you can already probably feel, we're asking a lot of you already, right? So we're already preparing you to start thinking independently, start making decisions independently, start communicating independently, right? Like, we're not sending home letters to parents or guardians. We're sending things to you directly. The workload, not having anyone to tell you you need to get stuff done. Absolutely, we'll touch on that too. Social environment for sure, especially if you're living on campus or planning to in the fall, or even not, right? You're just going maybe to campus and your friends, the dorm, that's a residence hall, there we go. Independence, having responsibility, absolutely. Anything else for some of the biggest differences between high school and college? New experiences, yes, wait, this is very important. So a lot of you have spent the last like 18 years with the same people, right? And so that is very, very different than what is now going to happen, where maybe some of your friends have moved away or planning to move away. Maybe you're just not moving away, but going to different schools or having different experiences. Maybe they're going into the workforce and you're going into college. all these things, like that goes with meeting new people. All these things are going to be new experiences for you all. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So now we have identified these differences, right? We talked through some of them a little bit. So before we go into things and I tell you what I think you should do, I want to hear from you about what do you feel like are some of the ways you'll prepare for the differences that you just mentioned. So just to recap, some of them were new experiences, meeting new people, a new level of independence. What else was there? The schedule, the workload, people not telling you that you have work due, right? So how will you prepare? We're facing that gap on the platform. How will you prepare for those differences between high school and college? Maybe some ways that you've already prepared. The Summer Institute, yes, that's perfect. Trick question, how will you prepare for the Summer Institute? Not really a trick question. I am actually asking that. What are other ways that you'll prepare for college and or the Summer Institute? Thinking back to those differences that we just mentioned. And again, maybe you've already done some things. Maybe you've already prepared. All right, so we have go into college with an open mind, reach out to people rather than waiting for them to reach out to you. That is very important. And I appreciate whoever wrote that. That is something that's going to be a challenge and a new experience, right? Back to new experiences for you all. But it's very important. We'll talk a lot about self-advocacy and how to be an advocate for yourself, how to self-advocate, right? And so that's one of the things you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We'll talk about that too. And learn to reach out to people and initiate conversations and ask questions versus waiting for those answers or those friends to come to you, right? Being mentally prepared and knowing what's ahead, absolutely. Just like reading information that we send you, maybe talking to people, asking questions, and that way you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into. This is also a really good thing to keep in mind when you're looking over your syllabus, which is ultimately a snapshot of the whole class for the semester. That'll be something that you get in the Summer Institute that we'll go over together. It'll also be something that you get in the fall for each of your classes. Talking to people or friends who have had the college experience, absolutely. If you have anyone in your family who has gone to college, talking to them, but then wonderful news, you have your peer coaches who are current Rutgers-Camden students, right? And so they are living this exact experience that you are, or have lived that exact experience that you are. And so really tapping into that, because they not only is it beneficial to talk to someone who's been through college, it's extremely beneficial to talk to someone who's been through college at the college that you're going to, right? Being open-minded, keep in touch with your counselor, staying focused and communicate. Try not to be scared to ask for help. Yes, very appreciative of whoever wrote this. It is nerve-wracking to ask for help. That's understandable, very much so. But it is something that is going to be essential to your success. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Yes, I love this tangible. I'm all about the tangibles. I love this tangible way to prepare. Constantly setting reminders on your phone so that you know what assignments are due, when they're due, all that kind of stuff. I am a calendar fanatic. I need to know what's happening at all times. You can see this giant calendar right behind me. I also utilize my phone calendar for everything. I have my work calendar. I set reminders, all the things, especially in virtual environments. Putting yourself out there and joining groups that can help you get yourself going. Yeah, absolutely. Community is important. This is a built-in community that you're stepping into, but going beyond that is essential as well, right? Like, we don't want you to just stop at EOF. We want you to take this community and build outward from there. These are some gems. I don't even need to do anything today. This is done. We're done now. Learning that mistakes are part of the process and understanding that some things will be hard. Yes, that's everything, right? The theme of our Summer Institute this year is that you are in a state of becoming, right? If anyone's read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, her autobiography. I don't know why I was struggling with that word, but her book, Becoming, it's all about that theme, right? Is that we're not done. We're not complete people. There's no expectation of perfection, right? Like that's not something that we're asking of you. We're asking that you're open, receptive, teachable, you're willing to learn, all those types of things, right? Wonderful, fantastic. Couldn't ask for a better conversation with myself, but thank you for your contributions. So I want to get back to the PowerPoint really quick and just share a couple more things with you all. And again, a reminder that you are welcome to drop questions or gems in the chat. If you like what I'm saying, feel free to use some emojis, all that good stuff. Not exactly sure what I did here, so that's also fine. Okay, here we go, keeping it moving. Great, and we're back. So we've already talked about many of the differences. I just want to highlight some of the key ones. Okay, I only have 8 here. I'm just going to talk through these briefly. But these are some of the things that I want you all to keep in mind as we were talking about the differences between high school and college, and as we're facing this gap. A lot of you touched on these already, but we'll just go through a few. So first thing is that high school is mandatory and it's usually free, right? Unless you went to a private school, if you went to a public education, there's not a lot of costs associated with that, aside from school supplies, which can be costly for sure. But it's usually free, there's not a lot to it. College is voluntary and it's expensive. And so don't be alarmed, right? We do have Mrs. Waters' financial aid workshop that she's been doing this orientation. So if you did not go to that, I hope that you will. Does she have a second one, Saracen? I don't remember if she did 2 already.
Yeah, she did the financial aid, the second one last night.
Okay. So if you missed it, get the recording because you need that information. Talk to your EOF counselor, talk with your financial aid counselor. If you don't know who that is, talk to your EOF counselor first, right? So finances probably won't be the biggest barrier for you, especially if you're not commuting, or I'm sorry, if you're not living on campus in the fall. You should be okay, but then there's other things, right? So there's, you know, if you're on campus all day, there's food. You have to prepare for that, whether you're buying food and making it ahead of time or eating on campus. There's school supplies, right? There's textbooks, there's notebooks, there's maybe you need a laptop, like all these things, right? All those little costs, they can add up, and college can become very expensive. The other thing that's very expensive about college is time, right? That is an investment that you're making with your time that you are not going to have, right? And so we'll talk about balance a whole bunch throughout the Summer Institute. We'll talk about boundaries, all that kind of stuff. But there's going to be times where you're not going to be able to hang out with your friends. You're not going to be able to hang out with your family because you are making that investment with your time to dedicate to college and this experience, so that the investment, the return on investment, is tenfold, right? And then you get the career of your dreams afterwards and down the road and all that good stuff. So the other difference is that in high school, your time is structured by others, so teachers, administrators, maybe your family, right? All that stuff. In college, you're going to manage your own time, especially if you live on campus, but regardless if not, right? You need to be mindful that the schedule is going to look very different than being like a condensed schedule like you have in high school. In college, you might have massive gaps in your schedule of like 4 or 5 hours in a day. And so it's not like, oh, look at all this free time. You have to think like, okay, well, I need to study, right? I need to do the actual assignments, which is different than studying. Maybe you need to talk with a professor. Maybe you're working in between and then that time is taken up. And so you need to be mindful of where you're going to make up that study time or that homework time and all of that, right? So being mindful that you're going to have to learn to manage your own schedule. And these are things that we will help you with. In high school, your teachers will often reach out to you if they think that you're struggling with something. Whereas in college, professors are going to be open and receptive, but like someone mentioned, you are going to have to get over that barrier of reaching out and saying, hey, professor, I'm not really sure what that means. Can we go over it a little bit further? Or, hey, professor, I'm struggling with this paper. Can I talk with you after class, right? That initiation is going to have to come from you. Doesn't mean they're not willing to help. It just means that that's the expectation, that you're self-advocating, right? Back to self-advocacy. And high school teachers are often trained in general teaching methods so that they can teach like multiple subjects or one big general subject. Whereas in college, professors are very often experts and researchers in their own specific fields, which is a beautiful thing, because back to that suggestion that someone had made about ways to prepare for college is to talk to someone who's been in college. Think about you yourself as somebody who wants to break into said career, right? If you're in a class with a professor who's doing research or real life work outside of that class in said career, then you should talk to that professor, right? Outside of just class and assignments and all of that stuff. That is an incredible resource, and maybe they become a reference for you for jobs. Maybe they put you onto a research assistantship or an internship or a job post-college. Like, all those things are possible, but you have to begin with building relationships. And that goes back to you reaching out, right? In high school, teachers frequently rearrange test dates to avoid conflicts. So like pep rallies, Spirit Week, or holidays, like they're very mindful of those things. In college, you're going to have like five or six classes at the same time. I'd say 4 to 6, that's probably better. 4 to 6 classes at the same time, right, throughout the semester, so 15-week semesters. And then you'll have a bunch of different classes in your schedule. By a bunch, I mean 4 to 6. And those professors are not going to care about your other class, right? So if you have your English class on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then you have a math class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then everything is due every week on Fridays, like they're not going to be like, oh, we'll change the due date for you, so then you can wait till the last minute on Tuesday, right? It's going to be like, okay, you now have this information. Let's make a schedule and plan out how you can, divide the work up throughout the week so that it's not all on one day that you're doing something. It doesn't get backed up. Maybe you're doing it on your English homework on Saturdays before the week, and then your math homework on Mondays and Tuesdays or something, right? That's when we're talking about managing your schedule and your time. It's really taking all the information of like what you have to do and what you're responsible for, and then plotting it and figuring out what do you need to do next. All right, and then in high school, initial test grades may not have a big effect on your grade. I think in high school, it's like almost year-round courses, right? So it's like you start in September and then your class ends in June, something like that. I might be very wrong. But that's means that there's a lot of time that you have to kind of make up things or build up your grade, right? In college, you have 15 weeks. And that first exam might be one of 3 exams that you have for the whole semester. And so that first test can very much serve as like a wake-up call. It also is almost like the indicator of what are the next couple of exams going to be, right? A professor is it's unlikely that they're going to have one exam that's like 50 questions, multiple choice on these certain topics. And then their next exam will be 3 questions, open-ended, right? Like it's not really going to play out like that. They're probably going to be pretty similar. The styles that professors have for their exams will likely be very similar throughout the semester. And so that first exam is your experience of like, okay, so this is how this is going to go. It's possible you might not do as well on this first exam. That's totally fine, but it's only fine if you then talk to the professor, right? And let them know that you need some help. You talk to your peers, you talk to tutoring. We have free tutoring on campus. You get a tutor and work with them, right? You have to kind of exhaust all options and pull onto your support network and resources when you're not doing well. Don't just take that first exam, be like, oh, well, this is terrible, I'm dropping out now, right? Talk to people around you, because you can come back from it, but you need to make a plan with your community of support. So then the other difference is you can expect to have your teachers or family members remind you about things. Somebody had mentioned that previously. In college, you are responsible, right? We're not talking to your family, we're not calling home, we're not blaming your cousin or brother or whoever, right? Like we're looking at you as a whole person, yourself. And so really thinking about like, what is it that you want out of this experience? Why are you doing this? If you're unsure of those questions, talk with your EOF counselor. That's one of the reasons why we're here, is to make sure that this is right for you. And also that if this is your goal, we're going to help you navigate and get to that goal, right? And so what are the action steps that we need to take? What is the plan that we're going to make to do this together and successfully? You can't just go at this alone and think that, you know, oh, it's all on me. I'm not going to talk to anybody and I'm not going to ask for help. When we say you're responsible, there's a difference between you doing this alone and like personal accountability and responsibility, right? That's what we're asking for when we're saying you have these responsibilities and you need to do this as your journey. But we're here to support you and empower you. So don't confuse those two, that you're on your own or personal accountability. Those two things are very different things. And then finally, for high school, you may spend like 30 hours a week in class and most of your work gets done in class. Like I've already mentioned, your schedule is going to be very different for college. You might have a lot of time between classes. You may only have like 12 hours a week of class, but that doesn't mean that you have 12 hours a week of responsibility, because there's so much more that you need to do outside of class. All right, so we're moving right along and we're going to talk about utilizing this gap. So we're going to talk about taking control of your own education, going into the Summer Institute with an open mind and willingness to build relationships, get comfortable with asking for help, which I will say this until I'm 1,000 years old, I promise you. And take control of your time, be proactive, and then utilizing this time to get into a college mindset. So I'm going to go through just a couple tips and tricks and cheat codes and all that stuff of each of these things and ways to start getting you thinking about this, right? All right, so number one, owning this experience. Back to the fact that you are a whole adult and this is your path, right? You chose this path. You made the decision to come to Rutgers-Camden, to do this program, to pursue a college degree, all of that. All those things are wonderful and fantastic and should be celebrated. But keep that in mind that like you are making this decision and you should be making this decision for you and you alone, right? You are going to be the one that's studying. Your family's not going to be studying. Your friends are going to be studying. Maybe they will, but like not for you, right? Like you are going to be doing this work. And so keeping in mind that this is your path that you're choosing. Learning about self-advocacy, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but don't wait on people, right? Like we'll talk more about this and the soft skills of like emails and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, keep in mind that you deserve time and attention, right? So I don't want to hear any of the, I reached out to someone, they didn't get back to me for 2 weeks, so then I like failed this test or something, right? If somebody hasn't gotten back to you within like 3 days, maybe even like 2 days, right? You should follow up. There's a way to do it and we'll talk through that, but you deserve time and attention. If your professor is not supporting you in the way that you need, you have the ability to say, Professor, I really need some more assistance in this course. Do you have recommendations of tutors? Are there no tutors? Okay, so then what is the next step? Probably talk to your EOF counselor and we'll find a tutor for you on this campus, right? We'll figure it out. But you have to ask, and that is part of the self-advocacy, is that you are the expert in your own life and we need to know what you need to best support you. Again, asking for help, don't wait for things to get bad. Don't be like, oh, I'll figure it out, right? I'm responsible. This is my path. So I'll figure it out for the next like 3 months. And then you tell us at the end of the semester, this has been really hard, right? I want to hear about it being challenging in the beginning, because I'll say this all the time. You can do this on your own. That's not a question. You got here, you're capable. You don't have to do this on your own, right? And that's what I always want you all to keep in mind. We are here as a support network to empower you, to uplift you. We are literally here for you. I would not have a job if you all were not here, right? And so we want to lift you up in the things that you're doing, make some things easier for you, guide you, help you navigate this experience. And so talk to us when things are challenging, or even when you think they might get challenging, talk to us and we will support you. Number two, going into Summer Institute with the intent to build relationships, right? So this is very important. Relationship building is probably one of the only reasons why I could ever call myself successful. It is something that is crucial to your success. You have the opportunity for the Summer Institute to talk with staff, your peer coaches, facilitators, professors, like administrators, all the people who are dedicated to your success. So take advantage of that opportunity. You can ask questions. You can just be engaged, putting your camera on, right? And just like nodding along to me. And then I'll be like, hey, I see you. That's something that's going to be showing up and putting yourself out there. And people will notice that, right? That is so important to your success. In this virtual environment, those are some things that you can do. But even in the fall, we'll talk about ways that you can engage, but asking questions with your professor, going to office hours and things of that nature, asking your professor for opportunities outside of the classroom, going to events on campus, right? All of these things can really benefit you in the long run if you're building relationships with people. You hear the term networking a lot, but I want you to think instead about building relationships, because networking can feel kind of surface level, right? We're talking about deeper things where you're getting to know people on a deeper level, on a professional level, and building a support network of people around you. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. This is so important because all of this is probably going to be a little uncomfortable, and that is okay. You need to keep in mind that asking for help is not a choice at all. It is a necessity to your success. It is non-negotiable. It is something that needs to be done. If you don't ask for help, then you are only depriving yourself from success, right? And so keeping that in mind, know that you'll not know everything, right? None of us do. Again, the theme of constantly in a state of becoming, this is fine, right? This is a learning environment. That is literally what college is. And so if you're not sure, ask questions. That's okay. We're here to answer those questions. And then again, back to my earlier point, this is going to be a challenging experience, and that's okay. Don't get up to this, wall, get stuck and be like, well, that's it, I'm done, right? Really think about the fact that like, if you're being challenged, then this is probably working, right? This is supposed to stretch you, help you grow into the person that you want to become. Number 4, taking control of your time. And so being proactive, right? So this is something that is really crucial to your success and just like sanity, right? Like for your peace of mind, be proactive. If you have a whole day ahead of you, right? Say it's Saturday, you're not working on Saturday, and you have a couple assignments that are due on Monday, right? And then Saturday, you're like, oh, I have all day to get this stuff done. And it's so easy. So it'll be fine, right? Stop, just stop, stop yourself. Be like, nope, that's not it, Sarah. I'm not doing that today. I'm going to get these 3 very easy assignments done in the first part of my day when I wake up. And that way I have my whole rest of the day that I can enjoy and relax and do a facial and all these things, right? And so that's what I want you all to start thinking about, is building these better habits. That's practice in discipline, that's practice in goal setting, that's practice in managing your time. We will work with you on all these things, but start practicing those things now, right? We're facing the gap, we're on the platform. You have some time before summer ends too, about 2.5 weeks at this point. And so really start that now. Build a schedule for yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect, but do something. Or you're waking up at like the same time every day. Maybe you have like a part of your routine that you do every day. Whatever it can be, whatever it is, whatever it can be, if it's work, if it's personal life, if it's friends, family, start managing your time through a schedule and getting into that routine of discipline. And then finally, begin to build a college mindset. You are a whole adult. This means 2 things. 1, you are already an adult. So if people call you kids, you're not kids. You're graduating high school. Maybe you are if you're not graduating high school yet, but you're about to graduate high school, and then the world views you as an adult, right? There's no excuses. You have responsibility and accountability, and you are a whole adult. The second thing is that you are a whole adult, right? That means that there's so many different layers and parts to you in your life, and we acknowledge all of those things. You've already kind of gotten this theme, but we're here for you in support of everything. Because if you're having challenges at home or challenges personally or anything, it's going to impact your college career, right? Positive, negative, neutral, it's going to impact your college career. And so we want to know about it. We want to work with you on it and support you. And that is part of being a whole adult, right? The other thing, what does your space look like right now? Personally, if I showed you around my space right now, I would not be super proud. And I'm going to have to do some organizing because I am not in the clearest mindset of space right now. But for you all, what does your space look like right now? Is it ready for college? Are you organized? Do you have a carved out space in your home or somewhere that you're going to go for the Summer Institute? Are you ready for that? If not, then that's something to start thinking about in this next 2 weeks. Knowing that you're a part of a community and that your success is a joint effort. Again, you can do this alone. I promise you're not going to be as successful if you do, right? This is a community of support because we know as people who have lived this, that success is a joint effort and that anybody, if you show me anybody who is successful, who you would deem successful, I promise you that they did not get there alone, right? Keeping your goals in sight. We're going to work with you all a lot on goal setting and everything in between. But for you all, just knowing like, why am I doing this? What is my goal? If the only goal that comes to mind right now is getting a college degree, that is fine. But put it on a sticky note, put it on your mirror, put it next to your door, have that goal as a constant reminder, because when things do get challenging, that's it, right? That's the whole reason. That's why you're doing it. And then lastly, know that you are in a state of becoming. Again, to bring it back to our theme, this is a learning experience. This is not meant to, you come in and suddenly you're ready and then you go through college and then you're ready for the world. Like it's not, on TikTok, there's all those like snaps and then they transition, right? That's not it. It's not instant. We're not instant mac and cheese. We're none of those things. This is going to be a process and an experience. And so you all need to keep in mind that you being in a state of becoming is fine. It is a beautiful thing. And the fact that you are wanting to grow and learn is fantastic. So again, from Auntie Michelle, we have, do not be afraid to ask for help. Nobody gets to college on your own. I said this last time in this session. I really looked up to see if she actually said this because I was like, this is the truth that I need to convey to students, right? Nobody gets through college on their own. This is such a whole truth that I want you all to keep in mind. If you want this slide so you can print it out or put it on your phone screen background, I will send it to you. But I need you all to keep this in mind that asking for help is not a choice, it is a necessity. And you are now part of this community that we are inviting you into to build on your college success, okay? Any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to us. But if people have questions right now, you have a couple wonderful staff people in the room. And so please feel free to unmute yourself, drop in the chat, whatever you want to do. But otherwise, you all should have met your EOF counselors by this point. And here is our contact info on the screen. You probably also have our cell phone numbers too. But please feel free to reach out to us. You can also reach out to Ms. Ferguson or Mr. Filas and ask them any questions that you may have. No question is too big or small. We always want to hear from you. So I'll hang out a little bit and see if anybody has any questions at all. Again, we have a couple wonderful staff people in the room, so utilize us as resources. This is step one. All right, everybody. Well, again, I will hang out for a few more minutes. If you have registered for our next session, it is starting at 6 o'clock. But if not, I will see you all soon. And I'm so grateful for all of your participation. And thank you all. Talk to you soon.
You too.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Lewis. I think we left already.